Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear and listening into another video from me. And this is just going to be a short, isolated series. I'm probably going to make it a small playlist of stuff about my character, my original character. OC, do not steal. Bullshit, whatever. Like if anybody likes to make a concept off of Heat, I really wouldn't care. I'd honestly be flattered that somebody would do that, because I've actually seen a couple people use the character in like some very small animations, and that kind of made me really happy, but that's a thing beside the point. So I wanted to do videos talking about this character that has been a mental creation of mine for a very long time, like back when I beat Mega Man X3, way back. So, I mean, I've modified the character's story several times in my head. I did write it out once, but I never actually finished writing it. I mean, still have the story again in my head. So what I was going to do is 3 different parts. My first part, this part that you're listening to, is going to be an explanation of Heat, of how I came up with the character, what led me to have the idea and the thought for the character in the first place. Then the following video, the follow-up to this, will be a short outline of his story that I have for the Mega Man X series. And then the video after that, to kind of just round it all off, is going to be a topic-based video covering some things I would like to do with the character in the future, and like how I would like to move him away from being a Mega Man X fan character. And if like anybody's like watched any of like my gameplay videos with the introduction music that's in there, that music was made by a YouTuber called Wizzy Whip It Wonderful. Like, it was made like 4 years ago, but like, dude is awesome. Like he saw my I think I stumbled upon him when I was looking up remixes for character music and stuff for video games, and I came across his channel, and I think he had said something about doing, I don't know if he said it or if I asked him. It was one of the two. But he said, like, there was an exchange between the two of us. We talked in messages on YouTube for a little bit, and it came up that I asked him if he could do a song, like make a song for Heat, and he saw like the picture that you guys are seeing on your screen right now, which was an idea, like just like a concept idea, because I was thinking about making a fan game, and I might actually still do it because I have a little bit better understanding of how to do so now. But I was thinking about making a Mega Man X RPG fan game, and that was just like a concept of what I like for like how he is introduced into the game. But that's, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. But like, that's something else like entirely. But either way, but he saw that picture and that got his energy flowing, and he made that song. I think I'll link it down in the description if I remember to. If I don't, somebody tell me to. So I'll put the link to the song on Wizzy's channel in the description, and like that way, if anybody really wants to just go ahead. But like, I mean, the song basically loops on itself, but if you want to listen to it from his channel, that I'll go ahead and do that for you. So how did I come up with the character of Heat? What you guys seeing is just like an orange recolor of Mega Man X's Zero, the Mega Man X version of Zero. I mean, I did do some sprite work on the character. I didn't really change his overall look because I just wasn't skilled enough. Unfortunately, like I had several different ideas in my head, and that's why I'm like talking to my brother. We went over discussing the character, and like he did some artwork for me, and I kind of did some small colorization on it. But the idea of Heat came to me, as I said, after beating Mega Man X3. It was like the situation I was thinking of, like where Dr. Doppler was under control of Sigma after having done research, and like he was working on research prior to being corrupted by Sigma to work on a virus, like an anti-Maverick virus, something that would cleanse like an antivirus, actually, just a Maverick antivirus that would clear out the problems that are causing Reploids to go bonkers. And he was also working on a Reploid to do that. Like he was working on the personality and mind of a Reploid to do that. He was building one. So in essence, Heat is Dr. Doppler's son, as far as Mega Man X goes. But during that time period, he got Dr. Doppler got corrupted. I'm like, this is just a small bit of the story. Dr. Doppler got corrupted by Sigma, and he was working on the ultimate battle body. Everybody knows this story plot line, but he never completed it, and that's basically what Heat is. Heat is the incomplete ultimate battle body for Sigma, with the incomplete personality that he was working on along with the Maverick antivirus. Those three things culminate to make Heat. And how I came up with the concept of the character, yeah, it was like, well, what if, like, that was what I was basically doing. Like, what if Doppler, like, because they said Dr. Doppler never actually completed the battle body for Sigma. And I took the thought to say, well, what if the battle body that we saw in X3, the big hulking one, wasn't actually the body that Doppler was working on, but it was a backup that Sigma had in case X and Zero got to him too soon. That was what I was looking at. And that's how I came with the character for Heat. Now, like I said before, I modified his story several times because of things that happened in the Mega Man X series. And I'll go over that when I do the story video. When I was imagining him, I kept getting a picture of Zero in my mind. Like where because they had so much data on Zero that I guess, it's not like they had everything on Zero, but they had a lot of data on Zero, which is why Heat more so resembles Zero instead of him being like a mishmash of Zero and X. So he's more thickly plated armor wise than Zero is, not by much, but his capabilities as far as his abilities go, he's really good with close range attacks. He's a pretty fair shot, not as accurate as like Axel or X would be. He's not a complete sharpshooter like they are. But he's fairly accurate, more in line again with what Zero does. But he uses his Buster way more than Zero does. So he's kind of like, as far as I would say, if he were a gameplay style in the Mega Man X series, he would be a character that swaps between using his close range and his long range attacks on the fly. Unlike in the Mega Man X series where they kind of just, once Zero got relegated to the close range style of play, they just left him at that, and it was rare to see him actually use his Z Buster, whereas Heat would actually use his H Buster, and yes, that's what it's called. It's called the H Buster. He has the H Saber and the H Buster. But they did have some information on X, not a whole lot of information when Mac kidnapped him at the beginning of X3, where he was downloading his information and sending it over to Doppler. So there was some things that got passed along to Heat from X. Zero does not have, these are because I've seen the character schematics. X actually has balancers in his feet that help him with his mobility. Zero does not have that. Yeah, that's a fun tidbit. I bet a lot of people don't know that. That's why X is actually quite a bit more agile than Zero, and he's a little bit more mobile than Zero is. Not like that makes a huge amount of difference, because Zero still keeps up with him fairly well. And that's one of the things that did get moved over to Heat, as well as again, his abilities with his charge shot are more resemble X than Zero, though he's just not as good as X is with it. Concept wise, he has 3 different styles of saber. Like he has his regular beam saber, the H saber, which is usually blue, whereas Zero's is green. His is usually blue in its normal mode. And when he's channeling the Maverick antivirus, his beam saber turns gray. And when he is utilizing electricity, his saber turns green. And if he's using fire, it turns bright orange. So, like, yeah, he has 3 different styles of saber. He can also use these augmentations in his buster as well. So his buster shots have different variations in colors and stuff. Like I kind of worked a lot on that. Like if you ever see my Deviant art page, and I might put that down in the description too. I haven't used in years, but it's still there. Like you'll see what I had mentally in mind for him. And he basically has the standard fare of doing a lot of the same things that X and Zero can do. And I even thought for a gameplay mechanic for when he defeats an enemy, instead of getting the most powerful weapon that they have or their best attack, that Heat himself, and I went over this several different times, Heat himself would copy elements from characters, much to the same thing that Zero does in the Zero series later on. But he would copy the elemental attacks from characters, like the elemental capabilities, and he could apply them to his own skill and attack set, and he would learn new skills as he progressed and took on more enemies. So, I mean, he's still pretty much like Zero in that regard. But I guess you could say he would be to Zero what Axel is to X. Like a sort of similar, but not exactly the same, as far as capabilities and things go, and how he advances and learns and augments himself and his abilities. And thinking. I mean, I did a lot of little joke stuff on Deviant Art where I was putting him and Zero together and stuff, or and at one point I was going to do a sprite comic, but since I wasn't very good at spriting, I kind of and I also had some stuff going on in personal life that just kind of wiped that desire out of me. I mean, I like the idea of doing it. Once that happened, I was like, nah, I can't do this. And I kind of had to give up on it. I mean, it's an idea that I may return to at some point, just to kind of do Heat's story. It's not a necessity though, but it's something worth thinking about. But that's just those things. Heat as a character, personality wise, he is rather. He's not as brash as someone like Axel. But if you were to pair those two characters, they would get in a lot of trouble together. That's how I look at Heat. He would be he'd be the Zero to Axel's X. That's how I would look at him now. Once the character of Axel was created, I was like, yeah, I could see how that would work. I could see them two having the understudy dynamic to the two of them, where Axel more so works a little bit more in line like X does, but he's the hot-headed version of X, and Heat more so works like Zero, but he's not as cold and calculating as Zero is when it comes down to fighting, and he's more hesitant. And that's how I balance the character mentally for myself. So he has the potential to be as good as X and Zero, but may not quite be there just yet. And in his story, he really doesn't get much of a chance to get to that point as far as his story goes in my head. But you'll get to understand why when I do the story the story video. Trying to think of anything else I could say about him as a character. that would be helpful and let people kind of understand what I was thinking when I went over the idea of making him and coming up with him. No, because I think everything else would actually come out with the story video. So I think I'm going to end this here. Thank you guys very much for lending me your time and listening in, and for anybody who was actually interested in learning about the character and just wondering, well, what's that robot that Andre had on this channel for the longest time in certain videos and stuff? You could just see the image and whatever. But that's it. Thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears up for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games and peace out.